Of course, I forgot about this again. There's always something I forgot. Let me just fix that. That's better. I would say ignore the chat because that is very last minute. I did not think about how to put chat on screen, so I just did a pop-out chat. It should work. It's more... It's a really last second solution because I did not think about that. But to be fair, everything is kind of last minute because I also had had so much trouble connecting OBS to YouTube. It is insane. Okay, yeah, well, I guess someone is dying, which is not a surprise. It's way too hot again. Granted, it went down by like 5 degrees in the last hour, which is something, I guess. It's better. It's not good, but it's better. I'm still dying though. It is so extremely warm. It's also very awkward to just go live on YouTube for the first time. Not really, I think in the first time in like 5 years. But that's weird. I don't know. Only being live on YouTube and nothing else. It's also the first time that I'm actually just here to talk and not do anything else. So this stream might either be an hour or 3. I don't know. It depends on how long I can complain. And I have a lot of complaining to do. The thing is, I don't even hate the movie, but every time I think about the movie in detail, I feel like I'm just talking myself into hating it. You don't want to know how bad it was when I got home after the movie. I was like, oh god. It had to sink in for a while though. I think while I was watching it, and like a few hours after I got home, I was like, it was actually kind of okay. But then I start to think about the details and some basically everything that's not the end, and all of a sudden I hate it again. But you know what? We're getting to that. We'll get to that later because I also went to I don't know what to. What is it in English? I always forget. Oh, wildlife park. It's so simple. Yeah, I went to a wildlife park again this year, and for once this year I took pictures. I have actually something to show, which I totally did not prepare fully, but I prepared this. Hello. Oh, I'm not in the right position. But we can fix that. Let me move a bit to the side. Hello! I have a classroom! And because I want to be a nice person, because I don't think I've linked them anywhere, because I never planned on using that on stream. So let me check who made that. So that I can proudly say that I'm not a horrible person this time. But the name is Kaylin, and the question is, can I find can I find them real quick? Probably not. I am gonna link it on Discord afterwards. But I prepared this because I have this nice blackboard here, where I hopefully, I'm not even sure, I have to test. I'm very well prepared. I just realized I didn't prepare anything to put the images on. Wait, let's call it. I'm very well prepared. Okay. Gonna call it that and delete it later. Let's see how hard it is to find these images. Where did I put those? There. Now the question is, are they in order? I think they are. Wait, I forgot to check if there any person on those. I think this one is safe. Oh. Oh, this is very big. I'm very well prepared. Do not question me. Yes. Go small. You have to fit on the stupid blackboard. It's not a stupid blackboard. I love this blackboard. Wait, why? Wait a second. How did I... Oh. Oh, I'm stupid. Well, if I was stupid on Sunday, or I'm stupid now. Because I just realized, yeah, I took them with my photo. Of course they're... I don't even know what sizes those are, but of course they're... What do you call that? Upright. The opposite of what my screens are. Yeah, I saw ducks. I don't know why I took this picture. I just took a few pictures of stuff that I saw because I was like, why not? So let me check real quick if there's any human being on them. Not that I accidentally doxed my family. I think I can show this if I crop parts of it. I wish I would have prepared like a slideshow for this to make it way easier. But hey, I saw ducks. I like ducks. They're cute. There were a lot of them. Let me just put that on the right spot. Oh yeah, by the way, I also have this. Which is obviously way too small right now, so I have to make it bigger, but... I can hide behind it. And we can pretend this is a lecture. This is all gonna be on the test. I'm gonna ask you what animals I saw. You have to find out all the information about the animals yourself, though. They're too high. How about that? Doesn't look like it's in the right position, though. Like this, maybe? I just realized I've never stood in front of one of those. Well, in front, yes, but not behind. This is gonna work. Either way, I saw some ducks. Then, if I show the next one, is it gonna be... Oh no, it's perfect. Well, it's actually really cute. They got really close. They even talked with us. It was kind of nice. Let me hide this. There's one picture that I actually have to... Oh. How am I gonna do this? Wait, I just realized I don't know how to do this. I'm thinking, okay, I'm thinking. I have an idea. Not the smartest one, but it's an idea. I hope this works the way I think it does. Or hope it does. Just a second. If I do this here. Then go over here. Nope, that does not work. Oh, whatever. Let me... I think this is okay. The DS for... You know what? I can't really talk about it because every time I adjust one of the photos, I lose track of what I was saying. I noticed. Oh, frick. I need to get used to not clicking random spots on OBS because the stuff is not where it's used to be. Everything is different and it's confusing me. I am very confused right now. Do not ask. But I saw DS. I don't know what to say about it. The DS are really... What's the right word to put it? I don't want to say aggressive. But they're really demanding. The moment you show them food, they just won't let you. Like, I was just waiting for them to surround you and just not let you go. Luckily enough, most of them are distracted. But I feel like if you're unlucky, I don't know, there's not many people besides you. And then they surround you. I feel like you're not gonna escape until you have no food anymore. And they're not afraid. Like, what? I almost had hooves in my face. Well, not on my face, they didn't get high enough, but I had hooves on my chest. they were really demanding. I'm just waiting for the 1 year where one of the deers is actually showing up with a knife and robbing you. I feel like that's not that far off. It's it's really funny when you know those clips from the deers in Japan that are really polite and you know they bow before you and stuff, like they bow their head and ask really nicely for food, and then you have these and they just super demanding. I'm pretty sure one even headbutted me. I'm not sure if it did that on purpose or if it was just confused and looking for food. Which, I don't know where it was looking, but hey, I don't know what it was thinking, but... one of them really headbutted me and I was really confused by that. But deers are really cute. Kinda dirty, but really cute. But very clean eaters. God, my hand was really clean afterwards. I don't like that. I really like going there every year and just feed some deer. That is a lot of fun. Oh, this is not in the right position now. Also, if the quality is low, then it's because I sometimes did like a 10 times zoom. Because they were quite far away. So if there's low quality, that's why. Apparently 10 times zoom is an option, but it's not a good option. Not that I did camera, but... What are these called? For some reason I was thinking cockatrices, but that's a mythical animal. That's not a real life animal. What are you called? Peacock, right? The weird name. The peacocks are really loud. Like there's like at least 4 or 5 around the whole park. And no matter where you go, one of them is close by. I just think of them as a security. And every time they're shouting, they're just informing the others that everything is okay. But I'm pretty sure I have one that shows it with normal quality. About 500 meters away. But this is normal quality, but it is 500 meters away. They do have trash bins there. That is really nice. They have trash everywhere, so you don't have to worry about not getting rid of your trash. If that was ever a worry you had, then don't need to have that there. But I'm pretty sure I had one of a peacock that was not so... Wait, are they not in order? Oh my god, they're... But I think they're not in order. Are they in order? They're just random numbers, I assume they're in order. That is also a deer with 10 times zoom. That is very far away. Wait, was that the deer that came closer? Because there was like 2 of them outside the area. I don't know how they even get outside the area. But they were outside the area. And there was one really small one that was really adorable. And it got close and then I gave him some food. And for some reason the little deers are not the smartest one and don't really know how to eat. But they do know how to eat, but they do not understand the concept of being handed food. That is really funny. That was not the case last time I was there, but this year, for some reason, all the small ones, they didn't really understand that they can just eat the thing that you're handing them. So they were just not really trying. The thing is, if you just, you know, throw it on the ground, they did eat it, but if you tried to hand it to them, they did not care. Which was not a problem with the big ones. They would lick your hand clean. They even got so far that unless you're actively showing them that there's nothing in your hand anymore, they would not believe you. The deer is not very trusting. But still cute. Oh no, wait, I didn't take a photo of it. Hey, it was so small and adorable. And I got to feed that one, and it's really nice. I think that was the only small deer that I got to feed, because the other ones were just not smart enough. I think this one kinda understood the assignment after its mother showed it. I assume it was its mother. If not, maybe it was some other woman. I guess as a deer, you don't have to be afraid to go with random women. Granted, I No, they probably know who their mother is, right? Does it sound weird when I say all the deers look the same for me, but I'm pretty sure for the deers they look all different? Is that wrong to say? Do I have to pretend that I see the difference in every deer? They were so adorable. They're really cute. Now that I think about it, it was looking for food between the walks. That's not very smart, is it? Especially because there's grass like just a meter away from there. I don't know why they were looking on the stones, but maybe a lot of people drop some random deer food on the stones. I don't know. It was really adorable though. I really like feeding the deers. Funny part is I don't remember what photos I took. So is that the bear? I think that's the bear. This year we saw the bears. Last year I feel like the bears were just hiding. They were just, you know, away. Maybe they were on a business trip. I don't know. I don't know what bears do when they're not in view. Which I think is something that no one really knows. Maybe there's a secret animal life that we just don't know about it. Maybe they have their own society as long as we don't look. Which would be a very stressful society. Imagine you can only work when no one is looking, which is like the opposite of I feel like most people do. I feel like most people do not work when no one is looking. Maybe animals are the opposite. Maybe animals work when we are not looking. Either way, we got to see the bears. Quite far away, so low quality 10 times zoom, but it was nice to see them. Especially because they're kind of far off everything else, so it's nice to not go there for nothing. I don't remember why I took a photo of a bird. There's a bird. It is not even... it's not even really close up. What bird is that? Is that one of the storks? I think I can do a reverse Google image. It looks like a stork. I guess it was one of them. I don't remember why I took this photo or why I took the photo when it was not facing us. I also don't remember why I did not take a photo of the birds. Because I think we got to see almost every bird. Maybe one was hiding away, but all the other ones were very much in the front. Some of them were very talkative. Or just didn't want to see us, I'm not sure. It was really nice. Especially funny was that they have one of the stepper eagles. Which I just realized is only funny for something that I've not talked... Wait, is that out already? I think that's not out yet. I think that's what I'm working on right now. I haven't said anything then. Just remember, stepper eagles are important. Did you know that the national bird of Egypt? This is only funny for me because I worked on something that might or might not have to do with birds. Hey, every new photo is... I think that's also a bear. Now I really start to believe that they're not in order. Or maybe they are. They just did a random photo of a bird in between. I don't know. But there's a bear. And I guess a fence. The fence is really high quality, by the way. On the photo. But I guess there's also really in real life. Don't have much to say about the bears. But not much to see. They're donkeys. That's not my hand. In case you were wondering. Donkeys were kind of cute. Also very talkative. A lot of the animals are very talkative this year. Which maybe I should question that, but I don't. But they're very cute. Kinda dusty. Like you could not touch them without getting dirty. So gladly I didn't. But they're cute. I think I have another photo of them, yes. Close-up one. Well, not close-up, but front view. They're really adorable. Donkeys are cute. They also had cows, but they were so far away and I didn't take a photo of them. Also, I think I have a photo from last year. Well, to be fair, I think I also have a photo of donkeys, but they were nice. They were cute. There was a peacock getting really close. That was really cool. They're very used to people, apparently. Well, obviously, they're just running around freely. And he got really, really close. And then he decided, oh, now I'm gonna show you my bag. So we could take a really good photo of that. That was really cool. And I realized that on the photo it looks further away. Like in real life, that was so close. Like this is not even zoom. I think this is just normal zoom. And it's like right in front of me. That was so nice. Granted, there he was already walking away. But it was really nice to have them get so close. I don't think I've ever seen them that close. Yeah, it was really nice. I try to remember. That's a bison, right? Which I'm not sure if that's also the English name. Let me check. I think they're also just called bison in English. The bisons and buffaloes are the same thing? Wait, no. They're called buffaloes, but the biological correct term is a bison. A bison, bison. The more you know. I did not know that buffaloes and bisons are the same thing, and I also did not know that bison is the biological correct name. Either way, I don't think I've seen them last year, so it was cool to see them this year. I think, if I remember right, the left one is a small one. A lot of kids. Which I didn't realize I shouldn't be surprised. I don't think wait, did I take a picture of the pigs? No, I did not. Wait. By the way, there's another one of the bisons, which... Oh, this is higher quality, nice! I am capable of making some good photos, apparently. So... There were a lot of pigs, they also had a lot of children. I also did not take a photo of the goats for some reason. I realized that towards the end I got kinda lazy with the photos. But hey, I took a photo of the bisons, which is cool, because they're also kinda cute. I actually think they're kinda cool. Also not super important, but you know, I have decided I don't want to talk about the Odyssey for the whole hour or two, because I think it's always good to start with something positive new. Oh god, I'm gonna so hate on the Odyssey. Well, I have 3 more photos, but they're of the same animal, so yeah, this is the low quality one. I'm not even sure if you can recognize what it is. It's a wolf, by the way. Let me see, are the other ones better? Not really. To be fair, they were super far away, so I had to zoom. But it's really cute because they were sleeping, and one of them was, I don't even know, stretching, I guess, or dreaming. It was, no, the previous one was better actually. It was really adorable. It's kind of funny because I'm like, they are also just dogs. Just... How to put it? The bigger one? No, not even the bigger ones. More dangerous one? I don't know. They are also just a kind of dog. And you really see that. It is adorable. It was really cute. I was amazed of it. This year we got to see all the animals, or most of the animals. Last year it was more like half the animals, which, you know, hiding. They were somewhere else. Which is fair. It's the whole idea of this thing, that the animals just live in peace and not necessarily have to show themselves. That was really nice to see most of them. We also saw the lynx, which for some reason I also didn't take a photo of. There was one more. I don't remember. Considering how many pigs they had, I was surprised that we didn't see them last year. But also didn't take a photo of the pigs. I got really lazy with the photos towards the end, I realized. But I really like that. I think that's also the last photo that I have. Yeah, that's the last photo I have. Just wanted to show those because I mainly took them to show them, and thought it would be nice to have something positive before I rant about the Odyssey for an hour, which I don't even know where to start. I want to start with something positive, but how do you start with something positive when there's really not much positive to say? Well, I guess I can say that it was not horrible. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Yes. It's really hard to describe. Like, I try to go into the movie and not be like, I hate it. Like, right before the movie, when they were showing the ads, I was like, trying, like, I almost meditative, trying to forget everything that I feared before, to go in. Oh god. Super hiccup. Without any predefined opinion. Like, I really tried to just immerse myself, which was a bit easier because of the special chair. Man, I've never been in a cinema with one of those special, I think they're called Dolby Max chairs. Like the ones that allow you to, you know, feel the movie. So whenever they clashed swords, for example, you felt that. Like, you felt the impact. The chair was moving accordingly, or I'm not even sure, but I could swear every time they were on the ship, the chair was slightly moving. There was a moment where I was actually feeling a bit dizzy when they were on a boat, and I'm convinced that it was because the chair was moving according to the waves. Well, obviously not quite as strong as some of the waves, but that was a really cool experience. I also have to admit that the movie looks really amazing, but that's what happens when you actually go to the places and not just film in a studio with a green screen all the time. So I guess that's the positive things that I can say, that the movie looks amazing, and well, it looks amazing aside from the costumes. And I couldn't believe how bad the costumes would be until I was in the movie. Like, I've obviously seen clips and trailers, and I knew that, for example, Odyssey's armor was weird. And in general, I feel like all the armors, for some reason, like, they clearly had, like, it clearly looked like they were supposed to be metal, but it really looked like, oh yeah, we're just gonna use these for practice, and then when we are doing the actual shot, you'll have to wear actual metal armor. That's how it looked. Like, it looked like, just wear this for practice. That's how it looked, because it was clearly not metal. I'm not sure. I think the only one wearing an actual armor, I'm not gonna say it was actual metal, but it at least was convincing enough. Like, I thought it was full metal armor, which is a different problem entirely, but I think the only one who actually had that was Agamemnon. And it was a very impressive armor. The only question I had was, what the frick is Iron Man doing in this movie? Wait, let me see if I can find a photo, a picture of that. Because I feel like I can't describe it. Like, you just have to see that. That is... Did I not have... I wish I could just find this moment where they opened the... Oh, I think this is it. More or less. Yeah, this is the moment. Can I find a higher quality one? Why is it... Are they all so dark? Like, there was a scene where they opened the gates of Troy, and there was like Agamemnon standing right in front of it. And I can't even begin to describe how out of place his armor looks. Let's go here. Where is it? Something is off here. Let me check something. Oh. Hey. Aha! Like, look at this. What is this? Why is this man wearing full armor? I'm not even sure if that was possible in this age. Like, it's called the Bronze Age for a reason. Because they mainly worked with bronze. Because they didn't have the ability to work with more yet. Like, it's literally called the Bronze Age because that was the metal that they used for everything. But this is like a full knight armor. Like, this man is like a... Wait, this is roughly 800 BC. The middle... the medieval times was... Oh god, I don't remember when it started, but it was roughly 1400 after. So this is like... almost 2000 years early. Like, this man is like 2000 years early. Why is he wearing a full knight armor? This is... I'm pretty sure this is not realistic. Doesn't even look that bad here. Like, the moment they opened the gate with, you know, worse lighting than this and all, I really was like, why the frick is Iron Man standing in front of the gate? This is... It felt so out of place. Like, I get the helmet. The helmet is probably the most accurate thing. Just a full body armor that feels... That doesn't feel like something he would have had. I feel like the armor for everyone else was at least design-wise correct. Just the fact that none of them was actually wearing something that looks like bronze armor, that is very weird. That is the part that... where I was like, yeah, I understand why everyone is complaining about the... yeah, but actually not bad. I don't know why this was necessary. Because I can't tell, but for me... Wait, am I hiding there? No, it's not. For me, this looks like a human spine. And the whole time I was wondering, why? Like, this is not correct. And I'm pretty sure wearing that on your armor is... Well, it's ethically correct nowadays, but I'm pretty sure it was not correct back in the days either. So, this was very confusing for me. And I can just hope that it's just decoration. Which, again, why do they have this, but not metal armor? But hey, he also sacrificed his own daughter, so maybe I shouldn't expect too much. Kind of forgot where I was. Oh yeah, right. No. Oh yeah, visually it looked good. That's why I was talking about the armor. Like, visually, everything was fine. There's some things where I could complain way more. And will complain in a bit. But most things looked okay. I can't really complain about the islands because those are actual real-life islands. So obviously they are not perfect and I'm fine with that. Like, yeah, sure, they probably were described differently in the original work, but first off, I honestly can't tell if Homer was there on those islands, which I assume he wasn't necessarily. Like, some of them, yeah, probably. Like, sure, there was a chance that Homer was in Sparta, there was a chance that Homer was in Ithaca, there was a chance that Homer was in Troy. Like, all those places, realistically, he could have been there. All the islands with monsters or like with certs and stuff. Very unlikely that he was there because usually they have stories about monsters being there because they don't know what's on it. So I'm fine with all the islands, but I don't know. I am have to admit that even though I do not necessarily like how Polyphemus looks. Wait, there's probably photos of that too. I'm too dumb to type. I probably have to do 2026. Yeah. Like, I'm not a huge fan of how he looks. I just wanted the photo. Alright, let's have the photo. Thanks. That is way too big. Makes it more terrifying though. Like, I'm totally fine with... Well, not totally fine. Like, I'm not a huge fan of this design because what bothers me is... My music is a bit too loud. I have to turn it down a bit. Sorry. It's just distracting me. Okay, now I can't hear it anymore. Let's put it like that. Like, the face looks so weird. No. It just looks so weird. Like, the way the nose is just turned. Like, it looks like you took a normal face, you just grabbed it, and then rotated it. And I don't really like that. But I can live with that. Like, this is acceptable. The thing that I don't think is acceptable with Polyphemus is that they just removed speech. They made it incapable of talking. Which goes against the whole idea of this encounter. And that is so weird. I don't know why they didn't allow it to talk. Like, I do understand that mouth movement and stuff would have been maybe complicated. But there are ways to work around it. You don't need to necessarily show its face when it's talking. Like, there's definitely ways to go around it. I do respect though, because I hear that this was not CGI, so I think they used like a puppet. I don't know how they did that exactly, but if that is not CGI and it's like a real model they used, then I respect that. Which is also a reason why I'm like, might not be a huge fan of this face, but I respect it. Especially the size of it. But I feel like it was so awkward that it was not talking. Right? Why did Polyphemus not gain the ability to talk? It's like the most famous thing about the Odyssey. I feel like that's the thing that everyone knows about it. The fact that Odysseus tricked Polyphemus into believing that, well, literally nobody blinded him. It's so awkward. And I think the worst part is that the characters are aware of the flaws in the story. I couldn't believe my ears when it happened. Because after they blinded him, he started screaming and blah, blah. And I didn't understand shit about anything he shouted. But two of the soldiers were like, oh wait, he is shouting Poseidon's name. He must be Poseidon's son. How do you get that idea? Maybe he was shouting Father Poseidon. I don't know, because I understood nothing this monster was shouting. But I wonder if in the original, because obviously I watched the German version. I wonder if in the original one, its shouting is more, you know, understandable. Because I understood nothing. But the two soldiers were just saying, oh, it's shouting Poseidon's name. And their conclusion was, this must be Poseidon's son. I was sitting there like, what? Why do you conclude that? Maybe it's just a very religious monster. Maybe this monster is just, you know, has Poseidon as its god. Maybe it just sacrifices its sheep to Poseidon. Maybe it doesn't care about Zeus. Why would you assume this is his son just because it knows his name? It was so awkward. But the worst part was that when that happened, one of the soldiers was like, maybe we should have talked to it. Maybe we should have, you know, made a deal. I was like, bruh, you can't be serious. I couldn't believe this scene. I feel like this was a mockery. The fact that one of them actually suggested, and not even to the group, just to, like, two soldiers talking, and one was like, it seems to be capable of talking. Maybe we should have talked to it. I was like, bruh, no way. I think that is almost satire. That is a mockery. I can't believe that. I can't believe they were seriously doing that. I'm in disbelief. It makes it so much worse that the characters are aware of the flaw and all of the missing parts. That makes it so much worse. And that's not even the... Actually, that's probably among the worst things. Like, this scene is a huge disappointment, and I feel like it didn't have to be because they had a good Polyphemus. Like, sure, I might not like how he looks because I feel... I don't know, something about the face is just awkward. The eye is not even the worst, but I feel like I've seen better depictions of Polyphemus. Like, let me check. Hades 2 has a really good one, I think. Yeah, like, I really liked this one. Yeah, I hate that. I just want a picture. You know what I mean? The only thing I have to do is like remove the eye patch and maybe get a normal eye. But I feel like those are the two opposites. Oh my god, every time I look at that I feel like this is like some 90s movie. Like, this does not look like current year. I'm sorry, I look at this and I feel like I'm looking at some old movie. This feels so weird. Granted, this photo looks not nearly as good as it looked in the movie. In the movie, it looked insane. Like, the skin looked almost like stone. Like, I really respect some aspects of it. I just don't like the face. But, you know, when I look at this, I feel like, oh yeah, they thought about the design. Like, sure, this is definitely modernized, and this is definitely not how he would have looked, especially with the hair. But I feel like they put thought into it. And reflecting the story of him in his design. Also making him more look like an actual man and less than just an abomination, which I feel like fits. Granted, I do not mind if it looks that awkward. I just don't really like the face. There's something about the nose and the eye that I don't like. And something like that I prefer, but I'm fine with that. Design-wise, okay. Just the fact that it does not talk, that it does not... Like, how can you remove this famous scene of Odysseus tricking this giant monster from the first moment they met? Another thing that I felt was awkward, and I honestly don't know why. But I know why, because probably they did not have the resources, like literal physical resources, to make multiple of them. But Polyphemus was not the only giant on the island. Which also is the reason why this whole nobody blinded me thing worked. Because there were other of him on the island. I don't know if the other ones were also sons of Zeus though. But the same way. Oh, fake. I appreciate that. I realize I don't have the chat on the scene. I can maybe change that real quick. If I find out where I have to chat. Give me a second. Well, that's very big. There we go. Close. Let's do this. And then this. Still giant. He's grinding doing the scene and a couple of others. Peter. I also actually don't feel the tier of theater was so empty. Like, not completely. I can't really put that in. It's very complicated to position this. Like, the theater was not even full. It was not even half full. Granted, that might just be because, well, was a Tuesday. I really had to think what day it was, but I think it was a Tuesday. So maybe because of that, but it was awful. It was really bad, and I don't really mind the design. As I said, the design was okay. I don't like the face, but I can live with this. You can present me this, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, okay, that's Polyphemus, I get it. But the fact that he was not talking and they removed, like, the most important aspect of the scene, I just can't live with that. That's just too bad. And also the fact that Odysseus does not act the way he is described. Like, every time a character was like, Odysseus is such a smart man, I respect him for that, they change to the next scene and he does something insanely stupid. What, Skyller's design? I hate Skyller's design. Wait, like, I found a photo of that earlier. This. What is this? I can't believe that. So it's a disgrace. This is just this is not even a joke. This is an insult. This is. I have to admit though, I don't think the scene itself was bad, because the way it was grabbing people, that jump scared me. Like, the way it grabbed people, like, everything about the scene was okay. Just the design was horrendous. I hope wait, let me check. There was a website that I found that quoted the actual Odyssey. I hope I can find that. I hope I can find that. I think it was this one. Yeah, this one literally quotes Homer. The bit was okay, the design is great. Yeah, the design is horrendous. Where is it? Because it describes Skyller. I mean, I have to be fair. I checked before the stream. Homer was the first person to ever describe Skyller, like to ever mention Skyller. So, if they go with this description, I would be fine. Because a lot of aspects of Skyller were added later, like the women part. But where is it? There, Skyller. Yelping hideously. I don't think it did that. I don't think it was yelping hideously. It did not sound like their voice are no deeper than a young pup's. I don't think that was the case. I don't think it did any sound. Fearsome monster. Well, I guess it was a fearsome monster. Yeah, that I agree. No one could see her. I get it. Yeah, she was in a cave, but... There, she was 12 feet. She has 12 feet all dangling down. There was not a single feet in that scene. 6 long necks with grisly head on each of them. I don't know. That is not a hat for me. This is not a hat. This is a tentacle with a mouth. Let's go on. Each had a triple row of crowded and close-set teeth. Not quite. I don't think this is... I'm not even sure if that is a single row of teeth. That's maybe a single teeth. But okay. She fishes for dolphins and so on, blah 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 blah. So yeah, this is not how it's described in Homer's Odyssey. This is far from what they describe. The only aspect that's correct is that they did not fully see her, or it, and that it snatched people off the boat, which they did really well. But for the only, or apparently only thing that was CGI in this movie, they could have done better. They could have done so much better. I don't even understand why this is not a hat. I would be completely fine if this was just a hat. Like a proper hat. Like a fish hat. A dog hat. A shark hat. Like some sort of hat with multiple rows of... Actually, a shark would fit really well here because it has multiple rows of teeth. Like anything really. But the fact that they just did this weird tentacle that looks like it's straight out of Stranger Things... That's really... It keeps reminding me of Stranger Things for some reason, and I hate it. Especially the moment when they showed the walk, and there was this weird hole. It doesn't even look like a cave. There was this weird hole that looked like an infection. And it oddly looked like Stranger Things, and I did not like that. Siren. Sure, he would fucked it up. I can't believe they've managed to freak up the sirens. Because I feel like the sirens is very simple. Granted, I don't know how Homer describes them. But I felt very... Actually, I felt not that disappointed because you didn't see much. It was just, I think 2 women or 3. I don't know how many exactly. On a walk. Which I think is okay. I feel like that's the only point where you can say that it was from the perspective of the man. And that's what they wanted to see. Like, that's the only time in the movie where I would say, like, okay, if you want to be part of the man and you want to immerse as part of the crew, then yeah, I guess that's what they would have seen. Maybe there was nothing there and the women were also just an illusion. Like, you can argue that, and I'm fine with that. But I feel like the sirens are not even that complicated. They're just some bird creatures that sing. So, I don't know. I would have liked them to give me a proper explanation to why does Odysseus decide to listen to them. Because I feel like every decision... It was the same as always. He made weird decisions and it was just awkward. And I feel like they just wanted to justify that by him saying, what if I don't want to get home? Which is... It's just... It's such a cheap thing. Far from the worst inaccuracy. Yeah, I feel like the sirens were okay. I also think Charybdis was okay, but... I mean, Charybdis is literally never described, as far as I know. Charybdis is always just described as a monster sucking in water. I was a bit disappointed that they did not show, like, a maw. Because I'm pretty sure... I don't know which movie, but... There was... There's this Charybdis. Which I don't know from which movie this is. I think it's one of the previous Odysseys. I was a bit disappointed that we did not get, like, an upside... not upside, like a top-down view on it to see them more. Like, that would have been really cool. But at that point, I was just like, they're probably not gonna do that because they're very allergic to showing any kind of real monster. So, fine. I guess. They had the... What do you call it? The whirl. So, I'm fine with that. I would have imagined the world to be bigger, though. It felt a bit small in the movie. But that, too, I'm like, sure, okay, it's fine. What I described by Agamemnon's armor as ancient Darth Vader wannabe. So, that is a very good comparison, too. Every time I saw Agamemnon's armor, I was like, why is Iron Man in my antique movie? Why does Iron Man show up in my ancient depicting movie? I am very confused. The Bronze Age did not have the technology to have Iron Man in it. But I'm fine. I mean, it was... I appreciate that there was at least some metal in this movie, because for some reason everyone was just wearing leather armor that looked like it was, or was supposed to look like it was armor. It was... The costume... Like, I couldn't believe it, because... Everyone was talking about how bad the costumes are. And I mean, I've seen the trailers and I was like, oh yeah, the trailers don't look good. But maybe in the full movie there's some better costumes, but no. I think the best costumes were... I don't even know his name. The guy played by Robert Pattinson in Ithaca, who was literally just wearing, you know, normal, formal clothes. I think that was... That and Penelope probably were the best costumes because they were basically what they were supposed to be, right? Just some nice looking stuff. But most of the armors in this movie, they just look like some leather thing that they... I feel like they didn't want to put actual armor on, which I get that for the scenes on water because they were actually on a boat. So actually wearing metal armor, that would have been a risk. So I understand that on the boat they did not have that. But there were a lot of scenes not happening on boats. And I feel like... I guess I can see the argument for we did not want to use actual metal armor because we were filming on a boat, and if someone would have fell, like, if there was an accident and someone fell into the water, that would have been a risk, and we didn't want to take that risk. Like, I get that argument, and I guess then you can say, yeah, and to be consistent throughout the whole movie, we then had to not use actual metal armors in any scene, because then would have been inconsistent. But I feel like those were people that, like, the first thing they do in the movie, right after Troy, is go to another city and ransack it. So why not just be like, well, and there they stole new armor because the armor they were using in the war was damaged. Would have been a perfect explanation to why they are now wearing metal armor and weren't before. And then you can just later say, well, while we were on the boat, they took off the metal armor, and at some point, because they really didn't have a pleasant journey, they just lost their armor. They could have even said that when they were turned into pigs and obviously put down their armor, they did not take it back because they just tried to get away from Cersei as fast as possible. Like, there's so many ways you can explain why they were wearing metal armor one time and not the other time. So I feel like it's a weak argument, but it's an argument you can make. Kind of understand the argument. All the bullshit you saw in the films about armor, kind of gave up on the realism. Yeah. I think the problem is not even the realism. I think realism is the only thing this movie tried to do. But everything that was beyond realistic, that went into the realm of the fantastic, of the godly, just didn't exist. Like, the whole part where gods would be present were just cut. Like, there was no god of the winds that made Odysseus a present after befriending him, right? Odysseus was a friend of some gods, which is something that they just ignore. For some reason, Odysseus is very skeptical about the gods, which is really weird because this man has talked to the gods face to face multiple times. This man does not have any doubt that they exist because he has met them. He has talked to them. This is the weird part. The only god that shows up all the time is Athena, and she is basically just some delusion of him. Also, for some reason, every time she shows up and talks to him, the next thing Odysseus does is the exact opposite of what she tells him to, and is also very dumb to do. Like, I feel like every time he sees her, he just loses his mind. Like, maybe being in the presence of a god was not good for him. But who knows if it was actually a god, because it was only him. Where was Hermie? That was also one thing I was wondering about, because they have Cersei, right? They have, or Kirke, depending on how we want to say her name. So, the reason why Odysseus does not turn into a pig is literally because Hermes shows up. I don't know why he shows up. I don't think I'm pretty sure there's some explanation in Homer's Odyssey, but I don't think Homer needed an explanation to have the gods show up. But he shows up and gives Odysseus a, let's call it an antidote. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it gave him, was it Molly? I don't remember what it was exactly, but Hermes gave Odysseus something that would protect him, which is the only reason why he did not turn, and then Cersei kind of falls in love with him. Like, it is a really weird story, but after this, Cersei is really pleasantly surprised by him. That's really hard. He's Odysseus' grandpa. Oh, really? That explains that though. It's not even that weird because I feel like everyone is some sort of related to the gods. But even if not, like, I cut that out. It doesn't matter. Hermes would have showed up, right? But the way they changed that in the movie was so awkward. Great grandpa, remember correctly. Yeah, I could check out that's a bit too deep of a research I want to do right now, but yeah. Like, yeah, I think I remember something like that too. But even if not, like, just let Hermes show up. I don't, like, it doesn't even have to be a famous actor. It can be a trainee. It can be some guy from the street. no one cares because he shows up for one scene and then never again. So it wouldn't even have, like, it wouldn't even add much to it. You know, mythology is his specialty. That's good to know. My specialty would be like medieval knights or the Arthurian knights. So, but oh no, it's not. Oh yeah. But yeah, it's just the fact that they don't show any gods, that the monsters are so awkward. Like, the same goes for the, I don't even know what they're called in the original, like the cannibalistic giant man. That was also that was a very awkward scene, because they had, like, they went into the forest, they see a child, the child screams. For some reason, all of the adults were already right behind the hill just waiting, which, awkward, but okay. So they show up and the soldiers don't even try to defend themselves. Like, I understand the thought that they want to flee because these people are, like, they are huge. I don't know why they had full metal armor. That is also a thing that I'm like, you don't give them the ability to talk. You basically just make them mindless killing machines. But for some reason, they have full metal armor. That is also probably beyond what they were able to do in the Bronze Age. But okay. But for some reason, those elite soldiers, like, those are soldiers that survived a 10-year war. But they're not capable of defending themselves. I am not saying that they have to be as strong or as quick as those giants. But they should be able to at least, you know, swing their sword and defend themselves in some way. But no, they just run away. And I think it was really cool how the trees were moving around. That was, I have to admit, that was kinda nice. It looked a bit goofy. But again, considering that this was all without CGI, that's kinda nice. Like, I would give them a point for putting effort into it and making it somewhat interesting. But then they were, like, there was really tiny trees that blocked their path and kinda imprisoned a few of the soldiers. And they were just standing there, staring at it. Like, in which world? Like, you know that you're about to die if you don't get out. And they're just standing there, staring at some tiny-ass trees that they could probably break with their hands. And they just don't do anything. Considering that they have metal weapons. At least try to cut those trees. At least make an attempt. But they were just standing there accepting their fate. They just knew, oh well, I guess this tree that is thinner than my arm, for some reason, I can't break that. And I'm fine if they, you know, they can't break it after trying. Because the whole forest apparently was somewhat magical with the moving trees. But that they didn't even attempt to fight in any way. Neither against the trees, nor against the... Well, some of them actually tried to fight the giants. But for the most part, they just accepted their fate. And that is so weird. Considering how badly they wanted to get home, how long they fought. Like, those are warriors. And not just inexperienced ones. They just fought a 10-year war. So you know, they know how to survive a war. And they just don't do anything. They're just standing there. They're just standing there, waiting for some giants that I've never seen before, that they don't know to kill them. And that was sad. Especially because his crew, unlike Odysseus for the most part, they were fine. I feel like they reacted naturally for the most part. But that scene was just... I think the best way I can describe it is a lot of, or not a lot, but some parts of the movie felt like a checklist, right? Like, we went to the forest and there were the giants, check. They fled, check. A lot of them died, check. But that's it. Like, just a checklist, and they They just went to the most important parts of the story, and that's it. And then there was the part with Hell. I was really looking forward to that, because Hell is amazing. Like, the Hell in Greek mythology is so cool. So I was really looking forward to the moment when Odysseus goes to Hell to talk to some of the ghosts there. Because getting into Hell is the easy part. Getting out is usually the hard part. And then it was literally just some random island with just dirt on it. And he does some weird necromancy. I was low-key expecting the scene from the D&D movie. For some reason. Because it felt so It's so underwhelming. It felt so underwhelming. Very interesting. Greek mythology is very, very fascinating. But I could say the same about Norse mythology, about Egyptian mythology. I could say the same about Germanic mythology because it's like 90% just Norse mythology. But like mythology is so fascinating. And then all we get is like, we're doing some necromancy on a random island, which brings back way more people than we want. For some reason, and this is maybe even mythology that wasn't incredible. Yeah, mythology is amazing, and that makes me so sad that this movie is just not mythology. But it's so weird. I was so disappointed by that because there was nothing. There was nothing that made the Greek underworld what it is. Like something, please. Like something. It's major studies about the study of mythology. I feel that. Like, a lot of my studies I invested into the Arthurian Knight stories and also Alexander the Great, because those are just very fascinating topics. Especially Alexander, because Alexander has like this very fascinating mix of fantasy, but it's also real. And a lot of the things we know about Alexander, like, this is historic documents, despite them, you know, being like a fantasy story. Because we just don't have any records of the time, and we know that all the places he went to in those stories were actually true, just the things that he did were very exaggerated. Like, it's a very fascinating thing. So, was really happy to have some class on that in university. But, like, it's also fascinating. It's also, I don't know, inspiring. It's like the history of fantasy. And then we just get this. We get this very disappointing movie that is, for some reason, turns Odysseus. Like, Odysseus is a hero. Like, the hero. Well, no, not the hero. I guess if you want to have the perfect example of a Greek hero, you would have to look at Achilles. Because I think Achilles is, like, described as the perfect Greek hero. Like, I think that's literally how he is described, no? But, like, Odysseus is not just a miserable man with PTSD. Like, Odysseus is a hero. Do I have the skiller stuff? Yeah, I still have the skiller thing. Let me check where it is. Because there's a part where he describes what Odysseus was actually doing when they were meeting Scylla. Can't really find it, but it says that Odysseus put on his armor. He stepped in, I think, the middle of the ship, because he thought that's where he sees the Scylla first, and he tried to fight her off. Like, he was not just standing there like in the movie and watched it happen. He wanted to save this man. This man was a hero. He put on armor on the ship and wanted to fight. He wanted to protect his man. And in the movie, he's just standing there. Just afraid. Just miserable. How each mythology works and relationships between the gods and humans. There's much about it. Encounters, laws, and beliefs. Yeah, that's also a huge part, because mythology is mostly what people use to, like, explain natural phenomena, or, you know, to cope with things that they just don't understand. So for the people back then, this was to some extent real. It was their explanation of things that they could see but not understand. So I think my best example that I have for that is Ragnarok, because I'm not sure how the current state on research is, but I've heard that one explanation to what Ragnarok might have been in real life is that there was a volcanic eruption, I think somewhere in America? No, Iceland, I think. Somewhere in that area. And it was such a huge eruption that it covered the sky of Europe in ash for, I think, multiple years. Was it 10 years? I don't remember for how long. Which obviously caused like a small ice age. And that is the explanation of what people thought is Ragnarok. Like, they actually believe the world is ending. And the Fimbul winter is basically just the winter that they experienced when the sky was covered in ash. Like, there's actual phenomenons, actual catastrophes that happened that people just then remembered as those fantastic stories that they made part of their belief and their religion. So for the people back then, this was not fake. This was just real. And there's also a lot of actual reports, like Herodotus, who went to places, listened to the people there, wrote down what he found out. And nowadays we know that a lot of those accounts are just true. Like, Herodotus actually went to places and documented famous battles and famous kings. But back in his time, people were criticizing him because his stories were too fantastical and not real. But nowadays we know that a lot of the things that he wrote, they were real. Like, they actually happened. Just from the perspective of the people that, were part of it. So even though some of the stories might sound unbelievable, they often just have some truth in it. So it's really sad to have a movie that does not respect that, but at the same time pretends like it does. Like, it would have been fine if they would have advertised this whole movie as a modern interpretation of the work, because that is fine. I'm not against that. And I think if you think of it as that, it's okay. If you want to frame the whole Odyssey as a modern depiction and like a modernized, I don't know, redemption story of Odysseus, that's fine. But that's not what the original was. Like, sure, Odysseus had problems. Odysseus probably suffered from PTSD, but Odysseus also never really had the time to really think about that, because every problem he had was just followed up by another problem. But he was strong, but he was not human in the way that an actual human would be. He was obviously better because he was a hero. And he behaved like that. Like, the Scylla and Charybdis part happened very late in the story. And still, he was not afraid to grab his armor and weapon and stand in front of his man and try to protect them. Could he do it? No. Because he's also just a human, and that was a giant monster that even the gods told him, hey, you're not gonna be able to protect all of your men. So, was it a hopeless thing? Maybe, but he still did it. So, the way they depict Odysseus in the movie is just... I've never seen the musical epic. No, but I've heard good things about it, so I'm actually kind of interested in it. I feel like that might have been the better depiction of basically everything from what I feared. Like, I feared, especially in context to the Odyssey, I feared a lot of good things about epic. And I've never heard about epic before, which is sad. So maybe I should check it out at some point. It sounds really good. It sounds like what the Odyssey might have been. Or could have been. Or should have been. Let me think. There's a few things. Like, I have no script for this. There's so many things to say about this movie that I thought I'd just go in. They've done the research, which is not even that hard. Like, it's not even that hard. Like, if you want to be super accurate, you just buy the Odyssey and read it. Like, I'm reading the Iliad currently, and it's rough because it's clearly old, and it's not the most fun thing to read, obviously, because it's difficult. It's the way it is written is clearly old and not in the way that you would write an adventure nowadays. But it's accurate. And I made sure that I have the most accurate version of the Iliad. Because which one was it? Where is this? The Richard Latimore one. Which, from what I found out, was like the most accurate translation of the Iliad. So, you know, just do that and you have everything you need. Because even if you just go by what you have in that, you can't go wrong. But even that seems too much for Nolan. Granted, I'm unlike most people, I'm not a huge fan of Nolan because I'm not a huge fan of anyone, really. Like, I'm not a movie watcher, right? I rarely go to cinemas. I rarely even care. So I don't really have a favorite actor or anything. I don't have a favorite director. I don't have a favorite whatever. So I don't have a favorite studio or whatever. Don't know what else there is. So I don't really care. Like, what do I watch in my free time? Like, I only watch like streamer, VTuber. Like, I don't have much else. But even I think that this was not good. And I don't have a comparison. I can admire, like, it looks amazing. Like, the scenes when they were on the boat and some of the shots of the islands, they were really good. Like, the movie is, in theory, beautiful. I wish they have, like, this filter on everything to make everything look darker. That's kind of mad, because I felt like, especially during the moments when the crew had hope, like, they found an island. I felt like it felt right to just give it more color because they were hopeful and stuff, but that wasn't allowed. Epic would say if I played this, if I made it much better. True. That's also one thing that I would feel like the pig part could have been better. Go ahead. Have a wonderful dinner then. Because the part with the pigs was really good for a movie. Because when I think, like, the scene was really, I want to say really detailed for what they showed. I don't like the, oh, right, I have a Discord server, wait. I don't think I've shared the, in like ages, but let me just find the invite real quick. Haven't done it in ages, so I don't really know where it is. Wait, can I not? Can I not copy it because I'm on streamer mode? Is that it? Yeah, that was really it. That's stupid. Let me copy that. Wait, how did it work again? The code. Let me just check how it works, just to make sure that I don't give you the wrong thing. How does this shit work again? You know what, I make a new one because I have no idea how the shit works. Just take this one. Because I'm really stupid and... don't know how stuff works, apparently. Doesn't help that streamer mode hypes all those things. Oh wait, what was I? I think I was talking about the pig part, right? Because I liked it. It looked horrible. You're welcome. If anything, I should thank you for joining. But like it felt horrible. Like it felt really immersive, I guess. The only thing I didn't like is that like the camera kept jumping. Like I'm not a huge fan of that. Like if you show me something, I like to not have the camera jump between different, like very different scenes. So that was a bit annoying because I feel like on one hand they show the transformation really detailed, but on the other hand they don't really show anything. Like it's kind of both. This is nothing full and nothing half, I guess. So that felt really awkward. And then, when I was thinking about it later, I was like, it was really not bad. But having been on the internet for a long time, I feel like I can find better ones. And also ones that don't, you know, hide half the screen all the time. Like, I'm pretty sure if you go online and you really dig deep, you can probably find such kind of transformation scenes way more detailed and also way more horrifying. Which the horrifying part, I understand if they didn't want to do it because the movie was already kind of horrifying in some aspects. But I don't know, there's so many talented people out there that I feel like you could have done better. Because I don't think money was a problem with that movie. I'm pretty sure this movie cost so much already that paying a bit extra for maybe a better sculler or having a more detailed or more direct show of the transformation would have been possible, but it's okay. I feel like in comparison to most parts, the transformation scene was basically there. It was good. It was not bad. I was wondering about how Cersei is living like in the small hut because I thought Cersei is living in like a bit more prestigious, but maybe I'm just misremembering. It's been a long time since I've read the Odyssey, so it's possible that Cersei was just living in a small hut, but then again, Cersei was not really the... Like, originally Cersei is the one telling him about Charybdis and Scylla, but for some reason they didn't want him to go back to her, so she just said, be careful, and then sent him off so that he learns everything in... I'm not even sure if I can call that the underworld, because it was not the underworld. Can learn it from the dead, because the dead then had to tell him about all that, which she would have told him, which is okay, I guess. I can live with that. I feel like I'm missing one part. I think the scene with the cows of Helios. I'm a bit confused because I thought that in the movie they said Apollo, but I thought it was the cows of Helios, which I think it's okay. I feel like the two exchanged a lot, but I could have sworn that I feared it was the cows of Helios originally. But then again, they didn't show any gods anyway, so who cares if they say Helios or Apollo once? Basically the same. Especially compared to most things in the movie, it's okay. Why not? I think I already said that, but also the way Odysseus was meant to be this miserable man who... I try to remember. I've heard or seen like an interview of, I think it was the lady that translated the Odyssey. I think she did like the teen version or whatever. But which version doesn't matter because she obviously read the Odyssey a lot. And I think she said something like, the movie is focusing entirely on the shame of these men. Like, there's nothing of the glory. There's nothing of the heroism. There's just the focus on the shame and everything they did wrong. There's never a time where they celebrate their achievements, their glory. And that's not what the Odyssey is about, because the Odyssey is like a balance of that. It's like... yeah, it's like that. Like, it's pointing out the mistakes, the shame, and the failure of those men, but at the same time also their achievements. But the achievements and all the glory was constantly denied. Even his son, like Telemachus, was... and I think those parts were the best ones in the movie about him. Because I felt like everything that they did about his son felt at least consistent and realistic. Like, the son did not care about the hearsay, about the songs, about the stories anymore. He wanted to know actual accounts, like people that actually met his father. He wanted to know if he's alive. Which his mother, Penelope, also wanted, but I feel like his mother was depicted in a really weird way. Because she was straight up obsessed with Odysseus. And it's weird because they were such a huge fuss about it that all the women, they got a better role, like they were better depicted in their movie and not just the, you know, not just how they are in this old misogynistic, is that the right word? Story. They actually made them more important and more prominent and more important, and they gave them more screen time, and I'm like, I didn't see the screen time. Like, they made such a huge fuss about Helen, and then she barely shows up and has like 2 sentences that they... I'm not even sure if she got to say a full sentence without being interrupted by Menelaus. So the whole thing was like, why do you talk about it like it's a huge thing, and then she barely shows up and barely has anything to say? And I think what she said was okay, like, there was nothing wrong with that. But they made such a huge thing beforehand. And I'm honestly fine that the things they changed about her backstory were okay. Like, I think the whole thing about having a twin sister was just bullshit. That was not in the original, but it didn't matter, so I was like, fine, okay, whatever. I was really confused about how little importance she had, considering that they made it such a huge thing with it. Like, oh, the women, they're way better represented here, and then you have Penelope that is mostly like obsessed with her husband. Like, a lot of scenes were just awkward because... And I was not even judging that by the original at that point. I was judging that by what they said. I've seen interviews of the actors and of Nolan talking about it, and I just didn't see it. I couldn't see Penelope as a strong, independent woman, because that's not what she was. Strong maybe, but she didn't feel independent. Quite the opposite. She felt way too dependent on Odysseus. Odysseus. God, getting confused by Odyssey, like the Odyssey, and by Odysseus. Way too close, those names. So I did not feel that. At no point of the story did... Maybe towards the end. But towards the end, she already had a hunch that the guy in front of her is her husband. So I felt like there she was already like, oh, he's back. So there was no need to be super obsessed anymore. But for the most part, like, she was shouting at Telemachus for basically no reason. Telemachus was asking a completely legit question. He was not even demanding. Granted, in the original, the tone might be different. There's always a problem when you watch the dub version that maybe something of... Granted, I wanna think that the German one dub is good because it's famous for being good. So, usually I would say that should not happen, but it can always happen, of course. Maybe in this particular scene, maybe the tone was different, or the translation didn't really show it, but perhaps in the original, Telemachus was a bit more demanding, a bit more arrogant, but in this scene, he was basically just asking, what if he takes the throne? What if we do something? Like, he was trying to find a solution with his mother, and all of a sudden she shouts at him. And I was super confused because I did not understand why she does that. And I say that having knowledge of the original. Granted, the story parts of Telemachus are not really fresh in my mind, so those I don't remember. But I imagine someone going into the movie not knowing that and being confused. Why is she shouting at him now? Why is she so angry? Like, yes, she's waiting for her husband, but Telemachus did not even... Like, he is towards the whole... not towards... During the whole story, Telemachus is like the person always believing that his father is alive. So why is she shouting at him? He's trying to find a solution to save the kingdom so that the father has a place to return. And she's shouting at him as if he just accepted that his father died and wanted to replace him. It was super awkward. And the whole movie, every time he was talking to her, all she said was, she doesn't want this or that, she just wants Odysseus. Like, this is not what I imagine a strong, independent woman would say. I feel like a strong, independent woman would have said she's gonna take care of it herself for her husband, but not just, you know, shout at her own son because she's pissed that her husband is not there yet. And this whole argument of, oh, she has like 20 years of experience on this empty throne was like, yeah, but you don't do anything with it. Like, it literally took until the end of the movie and Odysseus' return for her to, you know, actually do something. To put her foot down and be like, yo, idiots, I wanna burn you all down. So... But then again, they've all focused on Zeus' law, which... Maybe that was described that way in the original, but... Hospitality... Traveler... Thieves, like all that was the domain of Hermes, right? So every time they were talking about the hospitality thing, I was a bit confused because... The whole hospitality for strangers and travelers... Wasn't that Hermes? Granted, those are always, like, those laws always, or those domains always, like, they're not really strict about those. So maybe in Homer's, it was Zeus' law. I just feel like Zeus is, like, the worst person to trust with hospitality and all that stuff, because Zeus is famously known for not asking for permission to enter. And just sleeping with women despite being married, so I feel like Zeus is like the lawbreaker #1. So I feel it's just a bit awkward having them demand Zeus's law all the time and then not really knowing much about Zeus apparently. But who knows what's canon? You never know if for Homer's story, for the Odyssey, the other stories of Zeus might have not been canon, and Zeus was actually like a very fair, very normal leader, so can't judge that. It just feels really funny, because but the end of... I have to admit though, the end of the movie, I liked that. But the end of the movie was also the only part where I felt like, yes, now Odysseus actually feels smart. Like, he's actually doing something with a plan. He's actually... Like, all those small things, like... I forgot his name, like the bad guy that planned to kill Telemachus. I forgot his name, because he was not important enough in my mind. But... that guy... Like, when he gives him the thing from his brother, or not brother, but like from the guy that whose place he took, and so on. Like, all those small things I felt like, yes, that feels like he's actually smart, like he's actually scheming, like he's actually the Odysseus everyone describes the whole story. So, that was nice. Like, this is the part where I was like, okay, now I feel like I'm actually seeing Odysseus and not just like the shadow of Odysseus, like the miserable modern shadow that Odysseus left behind. So that I really liked. I really liked the end. It felt like really outsmarting them. Like trapping them all inside the room with no weapons and making them do this impossible challenge for them that, to be fair, it felt awkward that Odysseus, after 20 years, still was the only one with enough strength in his arms to you know, prepare the bow. But I accept that because it's Odysseus, he is a hero. So if you do that, I'm fine with that, because it frames him as what he is, like a hero, as a smart person. Like, maybe they could have gone more into him not doing that before Force, because it felt like they always just been like, well, he's the only one strong enough to do it. But I don't feel like it was actually strength. I think it was like the way he did it. Like, he had a certain technique to do that with the bow, which I feel like they could have gone more into that, but sure. I don't know about this weird thing about him warning every prey that he was trying to shoot by... No. What do you call it? Tipping the bow, like the... making a sound thing. That's probably a specific name for that I just don't know. But that felt weird. But the thing is, it didn't feel weird at the start of the movie. Because at the start of the movie, it felt like Odysseus was just, you know, playing around. He's tried to show the kids that he's good and he failed. It made him a bit more human, like a bit more relatable. But then towards the middle of the movie, or even at the start, it just felt like you are about to die because you don't have food. So why the frick do you not just shoot the animal? Why do you warn the animal so that it might run away and you might not eat and maybe die because you don't have anything to eat? Like, it felt unreasonable to stick to that. Granted, sticking to something like that feels like what a hero would do, but it just... with the way they framed him, it just felt like another dumb decision. Same as shooting Polyphemus at the end. Like, that felt so unreasonable. Like, why did he do that? And the characters also asked, why did you do that? Like, when the movie itself admits that the character did something stupid, it's just even worse. It's just worse. And so many times the characters pointed out some... like, the flaws of the scene were pointed out by the characters themselves, and that's just not good. Like I said that earlier, but the moment when two soldiers were talking, and one of them was like, wait, this monster is able to talk. Maybe we could have, you know, we could have discussed it with it. That was such a... like, that was such a mockery. I really felt like they're just mocking the audience at that point. Because if you know the original scene, or even just heard of the scene with Polyphemus and the whole nobody story, it felt like they're just mocking. Like, the way they're just like, hey, we could have talked to him. That felt like that's pure mockery. And so many things about the movie just were were similar. It was so many small things, but also the big things. I really wish they wouldn't have done that. I was really hoping, not necessarily to, you know, see a 100% accurate depiction of it. I was prepared for it to be okay-ish, to be not super accurate, but I thought they would at least, you know, be somewhat close. That would be somewhat, how to put it, put some effort into it. Excuse me, I'm trying to, I turned off streamer mode in Discord. Now try to activate it again, and I actually have no idea how you do that, because the settings look different again. I hate it. Can Discord just not change the settings every 10 minutes? Like, I'm super every time I try to do something in there, I just can't find it. And where the heck is that setting? I feel really dumb for not being able to find that, but where the frick is that? Also, by the way, it is extremely warm in here. Like, I'm sweating like crazy. It's one of the reasons why I wanna end sooner, because I'm just dying. It is so effing warm in here. A second. Oh my god, there it is. I mean, yeah, sure, makes sense. Why would I not look for the streamer mode in appearance? I hate Discord settings. There's not much I dislike about Discord, but that is one thing. Is there anything else? Oh wait, I actually I completely forgot about this. I prepared this because I wanted to watch that. It was just, like, it's just a 10-minute thing about 3 of the actors. About, and this is the interesting part, on breathing new life into a classic. And I was really curious about it. I watched the beginning and I had some thoughts on that. So I felt like I wanted to just watch this because I'm curious.
Penelope gets very mixed signals.
I think you can hear, right?
I don't know. I think by the end they're pretty clear.
It's already gone off the rails. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Simon.
Ithaca's king is coming back.
No, he's not.
Tom and Rob, this film is astonishing.
I should
You're
maybe
all
turn off the background
impact-
music, I just realized. And I'm probably gonna end after this. Like, I'm gonna watch this, I'm gonna share my thoughts on the things that they say, which I don't know what they're gonna say. I've only watched like the first minute or so. But I already know that Tom Holland is gonna say something that I agree with, immediately following up with something that I disagree with. So I thought this might be a good video to maybe help me give my final thoughts.
in it. I absolutely loved it. I was
Odd person out.
Aw, Rob, I was just getting excited.
Sorry.
Why'd you gotta be like that?
for each of you, when you first read the script, what was the favourite aspect of your character that you enjoyed? And once you'd wrapped filming and experienced that character, had that changed at all? I don't know if Tom, we could start with you.
I think for me, it's one of the great coming of age stories in Western literature, and I think it felt really like the last time in my career I get the chance to sort of play a boy.
Okay.
You know, it felt like a perfect kind of bookend to the first chapter of my career. And something I realised last night is the premiere to my first ever film was at the BFI in London, and I haven't had one there since. And tomorrow night we're going back there, so it feels kind of poetic. But for me, what I love about Telemachus is his journey is one of self-discovery. You know, he's kind of pining after his dad, and doesn't really know where he belongs or who he is. And throughout the course of the movie, you know, he learns to become a man, to step up to the plate, to take the throne, but only when he's ready. And really, he learns everything his mum has been telling him the entire...
Up until this part, I actually agree with him. I feel like Telemachus was probably the strongest part of the movie, because I always felt like it was fine. Like, I never felt like this feels dumb, this feels out of place. I always felt like, maybe because Telemachus' part of the story was not that strong in my mind, like it didn't have any comparison to the original, but I also felt like it felt right. He only basically knew his father from stories. I think it's a bit weird calling Telemachus a boy, because at the age of 20, we're definitely not a boy anymore in that age. Like, you're not a boy anymore in our age, at the age of 20 plus, so considering him a boy is a bit weird. Like, at no point in the movie is Telemachus a kid or a boy. He's a man, a grown man, who's just not ready to be a king yet. But it's the part where I agree. Like, Telemachus was the interesting part, because for him, when he went to Menelaus or all the steps, it was him trying to, you know, make sense of who his father is, because he doesn't know his father. He only knows his father from stories, from songs, from what the homecoming soldiers tell him, but he never knew him as a person. He doesn't know anything about his father as a king. He doesn't know anything about his father as a man. So that part and the way he wanted to I had to check something. Like, this whole part about him trying to figure out who his father is, and with that also who he should be, what he has to be to become the king. Like, I agree with that. That was the interesting part of the movie, and also the part of the movie that I felt like the most, I want to say realistic, but the problem was that the movie was trying to be too realistic. It felt like the most relatable, like the most immersive part of the story. So, I agree with that. And I also do like the parts of Telemachus. I feel like the conversations Telemachus had were the more meaningful ones, with, like, Menelaus was trying to tell him, don't try to be your father, because you're not your father, basically, and be careful, because... Actually, no, I think this was Helen who told him to be careful, and Menelaus was more like, be yourself, like, be the king you want to be, or you have to be, while your father is not there. Even if your father lives, just be the king you should be, or that you want to be for the kingdom. Like, I felt like that were the more immersive parts that I couldn't complain too much about. So that was nice. Partly why I do like the ending the most.
First half of the movie, just right at the end.
Had to learn it for yourself.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Once your dad said it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's really
get it
wise.
Yeah, you're like, whoa, I
That's
get
so
it
smart.
now.
And Anne, what did you...
I kind of skipped that part, but I disagree with the part where he learned anything from his mother, though. I feel like his mother never told him, like, at least in the movie itself. Maybe I missed the part where they mentioned that she told him about his father, but I felt like she never talked about Odysseus, only that she wants him back, and that he's not dead, and that she's kind of obsessed with him. But I don't remember any time when she actually told him about Odysseus, other than he was a great man, he was best. Which, yes, we got it. You were very obsessed with him. So it was more like she shouted at him. She was very inaccessible. She was basically just shutting herself in and cutting herself off of everything. Even Telemachus, it doesn't really feel like they had a close relationship as a family. So I don't. Maybe on set they felt different about that, which is they're right. Maybe they, while doing those scenes, they had a different feeling than what came across. That is entirely fair. So I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying that that's not what I felt those two characters have. I did not feel like Telemachus really learned much from his mother. Quite the opposite. I felt like the moment he left and went to Menelaus and had some actual accounts of his father, because even if you say Penelope knew his Odysseus better and, more intimate, Menelaus still spent 10 years fighting a war with Odysseus, so he knew him quite well. Like 10 years is not a short time. And I felt like the moment Telemachus had someone actually tell him about his father and actually have someone not just obsess over his father, but actually seeing Telemachus and not his father. Because that's the problem that I have with Penelope. Penelope feels like, at least in the movie, she constantly only obsesses over Odysseus and doesn't really see Telemachus. She only sees that Telemachus is not Odysseus, and that's the only thing she cares about. And I think there's also one scene where she literally shouts at him that he is not Odysseus and she wants Odysseus, not him. And that he can't replace him, stuff like that. But when he talks to Menelaus, it's different because Menelaus does not really care about Odysseus, if he's there, if he's alive or dead, because it's a different king, and for Menelaus, the future mattered more, and the fact that he came home, and he also knew that something bad is on the horizon, and knew that all the places, all the kings, all the kingdoms in Greek, they have to be ready. So he saw the person in front of him more than the person that is somewhere that he doesn't even know where, if he's even alive. So I don't know, I feel like his mother was not really what helped him the most growing up. And it was actually going away from her and having someone else teach him that helped him. But I take that.
Love about Penelope from the start, and yeah, did that evolve as filming wrapped?
Well, I love Greek mythology, so I was familiar with the story beforehand and thought I had kind of a grasp on who Penelope was. And then I read Chris's adaptation of the story, and I realized that I was at square one with her. And I just love that Chris created a version of Penelope that doesn't deny what we know about her. She is patient, and she is modest, and she is extremely wise.
Maybe I watched a different movie, but she did not feel patient. Maybe in one way that she was waiting for Odysseus, but it didn't feel like she was waiting because she's patient, or, I don't feel like patient is the right word. I feel like she was, again, very obsessed with her husband and just denied everything else. It doesn't feel like patience. At least I wouldn't describe it as patience, so not sure if I would call her that.
But that also doesn't mean that she's not angry. Angry.
Oh,
at
she
the
certainly
suitors
is angry.
that are
At
invading
everyone.
her home. And being wise might mean not showing all of your cards at once. She's very cunning. The classic story about her making the conditions of the agreement with the suitors based on her finishing the shroud and then secretly undoing it. She's kind of doing the best she can with what she has.
Which, by the way, I felt like they did not. Like, this is one thing that also in the movie was like a checklist. Because the whole thing of her doing this was explained in one scene. Like, I think while she was talking to Telemachus, on the side they dropped that the moment she finishes that, she has to marry again. That's literally it. That they did not even explain this condition that she told that to the students, that they all agreed that this is how it's gonna go. She just on the side dropped to her son, when she finishes that, she has to marry again. So it felt like a side thing. They really pushed it to the side, dropped it somewhere in between, and then later towards the end there was this moment where the bad guy, I keep forgetting his name, the guy that Robert Pattinson plays, that he mentions that she's undoing it at night, and I had just wondered, why did they not show that? Like, it is literally just a 1 minute thing they would have to show. Just a scene at night where she sneaks into this room and undoes it. Really not much to add there. Just really just a scene where she does that. And of course her servant, the servant girl that betrayed her, just has to see that and tell that to the other guy. Like, this is a scene that is like a minute or two, if you really want to just make it quick. And I was wondering, why not just show that? And then at that point, I don't care if it's in the original, because the original is not, it's a book. In a book, a lot of things are just described. So that's how books work. But you have a movie here. Why not show things in a movie? I think that's the thing why we have movies, because the things that you can't show visually in a book, that you can only describe, you can show visually in a film. So why did she not actually undo it at night in the film? The film had no problem showing flashbacks all the time, and I'm very aware that a lot of people say, yeah, well, that's just how PTSD works, and my answer to that is, I don't think PTSD does work exactly like that. Because Odysseus, if he would have had, PTSD flashbacks, maybe show that physically, sweating, like some kind of panic. Like, this man was way too chill and internal for that to feel like actually episodes. Also, they happened at really awkward moments, like at very quiet moments. So it was more like his memory. I don't know, maybe I have a wrong idea of PTSD, but I feel like it felt more like mentally Odysseus didn't leave Troy, and he was going through this whole thing over and over in his head, but it happened too often. Like, some of the scenes, I felt like the moment they opened the gates of Troy, the flashbacks were done. And then later there was another flashback where they basically just showed me what I already knew. Because everyone, like Cersei talks about it, other characters talk about it. They mentioned that they did bad things. They killed everyone there. But they said they raped people. They never showed that. And I think it's kind of awkward that everyone was killed that they showed. So I feel like if there were more, capturing of people, that would have come across better. I don't say they have to show that. I definitely don't think they have to show the sexual part. But the fact that they just killed every woman that they found kind of went against what they said, but that's okay. But I didn't need to see that, because I already knew that. And honestly, the scene of them beheading a woman that I guess for Odysseus looked exactly like Athena was also kind of awkward, because Athena only happened in his head, so at least that's how they showed it all the time. So she was never physically there, and I also don't really feel like there was any big message behind that. Maybe because they kept talking about you never know if the person in front of you is a god, and that's weird because they were very allergic to showing any actual god in this movie. So I feel like a lot of things they just did went against each other. I didn't need some of those flashbacks. I felt like the flashbacks just happened too often, and often enough showed the same things. Like, I think the movie starts with a flashback. Well, not the first thing, but like the second scene is like a flashback of Xenon, who didn't know about them being inside the horse, giving the horse to the soldiers of Troy. And then later on they have the same exact flashback, but showing it inside the horse. And I just felt like didn't need that. Like, it's not a secret that they were in the horse. That is common knowledge, or should be. So there was no harm in just at the start already showing them inside the horse and then just leaving that out later and just show how they brought it in. Like, a lot of things just felt like they just doubled down on it, and it focused oddly much on Troy, which again, well, actually, I can't say again, I didn't say that yet, but the Odyssey is a huge story, so putting that into one movie is already a challenge. And then retelling so much and so often what happened on Troy is time consuming. Time that you could spend on the Odyssey to flesh that out more. I understand people who want to defend those flashbacks. I think it was too much and didn't add much to the story. Mainly because there's already a movie called Troy, so it's not like you can pretend that we don't have the pre-story. And second, those came at oddly convenient moments. Like, they happened every time someone talked about it. Oh, let's go and do a flashback for it. And they felt slow, they didn't really feel emotional. I didn't feel immersed. I didn't feel like, oh yeah, it makes sense that Odysseus feels horrible, because every time I saw that from the perspective of, this man has been fighting this war for 10 years. He just wants it to end. He was desperate. And that's what they wanted to show. They wanted to show a desperate, miserable pile of shame. But for some reason, this miserable pile of shame is only allowed to feel bad about his own actions, and not about the fact that he was just trying to end the war. Missed something? Not much. I missed like 2 minutes of this 10-minute interview, where they didn't say much. And some parts I even agreed with. Also, I feel like my throat is starting to hurt. I might end soon. It's so warm in here. But a good reminder for me to actually finish this, because I wanted to watch this and then probably end.
Work with. And so I think that while I appreciated her before playing her, I really respect her. She put up with a lot. And I really, one of the things I appreciate most about her is she did it with her values intact.
Wait, give me a second. My hair does not fit. Let me just fix that real quick. God, I'm sweating so much. Okay.
You know, we talk a lot about in this film that Zeus's law, do unto others as, or I guess it's treat others as you would be treated. Now we know it as do unto others as they would do unto you. And even
Which is a really weird concept in this movie, because they keep repeating this. Do what to others what you want them to do to you. Like, they repeat that an awful lot, and yet, for some reason, the suitors will behave like literal dicks the whole time. They eat all the finest things. They, at the same time, spit on the honor of the king and the one housing them. And for some reason, them behaving like assholes is fine. Like, the whole depiction of this is super awkward. Especially the part of where they misbehave, like mistreat the dog. Like, this is the dog of the owner. So treating that with disrespect is like disrespecting the owner. So why is that okay? I understand, like, it doesn't justify Telemachus physically assaulting him, but they just accept that. They accept everything they do despite it being obviously disrespectful and being wrong. Like, even people that are in this palace, or this castle? Palace? Don't know what it counts as. That were there by White, like the blind man, who was there because Odysseus allowed him there, ordered him to be there, gave him a task, and they're still disrespecting that. So they're completely disrespecting the owner and the king, but that has no consequences. So it felt just awkward repeating that all the time, and yet it only applies like one way. It felt weird. So the movie did not do the best to justify anything there.
No, it's agonizing to live according to that, even though she kind of wants to rip her hair out, and well, she actually puts it in the script far better than I ever could, what she wants to do to the suitors. She respects that law because she understands it to be a cornerstone of...
Also, I'm not an expert on that law, but I'm pretty sure that housing people indefinitely was not part of it. I'm pretty sure everything this law included was assuming a reasonable duration and a reasonable amount. But what happened is that they gave them everything. Like, the best cows, the best animals they had. They sacrificed everything for those suitors. And I'm pretty sure the law does not include give everything to the ones you're housing. I think it is meant as give them what you can reasonably give, which later on is also stated, because the poor man, I forgot his name, the blind man, he doesn't have much, but he offers them what he can reasonably give, which is according to the law. But for some reason in the palace, it's according to the law that they give them everything they have. The best food, the best everything that they can offer, basically. Despite them not having indefinite resources. So, the way this is all depicted is really, really awkward. And if you already changed stuff from the original, then this is maybe one thing you could have changed. That could have adjusted. But I'm not sure if that is the same way in the original. I feel like in the original, they probably explained it better. They probably the whole law was better fitted into the story. Because here, in this movie, it felt very, very weird that this law just meant that you had to give everything to the suitors, which is awkward. It's not a reasonable amount. It's also not reasonable that they get to mistreat your other guests, because they were doing that constantly every time a beggar came in, which Odysseus allowed and even told them to. They just disrespected them. They mistreated them. They literally spit on them. Like, alone, the scene alone at the end, where he spits into the bowl of Odysseus. How is that okay? Like, how can you just accept that one of your guests is mistreating one another when they're by right the same rank? They're both travelers that you're housing. So it's just, the whole thing is just so awkward that they just accept all that when they by right have at least the right to punish them to some degree, or to at least deny them further housing, because housing someone indefinitely is probably not what this law includes. It's more like someone traveling you should house and give what you can, and not give them everything you own and let them live for free forever.
A civilization, a cornerstone of the world that she wants to live in.
Mm-hmm.
It's the thing that Odysseus is fighting for, or so she thinks.
Mm-hmm. I just want to touch on that. You mentioned what she wants to do to the suit.
Also, last thing I want to say about that. I would understand if the explanation is that they physically can't do anything. Like, even if they wanted to, kick them out, it was too many, they were too strong, they had weapons, and if they would have driven them away, they would have just, avenged them. Like, they would have just took that as a reason to ransack and take everything from them. Like, if they would have at least explained it like that they physically can't get rid of them because they're too many and they're too strong, or they have too much influence, too many men, that would at least be reasonable. And I feel like that's probably how Homer would have explained that. But the fact that we don't know if Zeus will punish us if we drive them away, that's dumb. I think one time they mentioned that if they drive them away, they're just gonna take that as a reason to attack them and to take everything from them, but I feel like most of the time they were just like, we can't do that because it's Zeus' law, when in reality they probably overstayed their hospitality a long time ago, but they just can't physically get rid of them. So, don't know. Feel like the writing was just awkward there.
There's mention of something she wants to do to them all, and that speech to me in the film was like one of the best pieces of acting in the film. You're all great as well. There are great moments.
Thank you. It's great, but we all had great
exactly,
writing.
everyone has their moments. And is that something you pinpointed in the script, and like that line or that little speech there? Was that something you're like, I want to nail that?
You know, we've all worked with James Gray, who's a fantastic filmmaker, and something he said when I got to work with him really resonated with me. Which he said, whatever you do, don't try to nail it. He said, I can always tell when an actor's trying to nail something. That's the last thing in the world I want. You know, do everything but nail it. And so I don't necessarily look for that whenever I am reading something, but what I felt, but I did feel a power coming off of that section. And, you know, whenever I think of Greece and whenever I think of powerful women, I can't help but think of Maria Callas. So I just remember thinking to myself, what would Maria do if this was an aria? And that was what got me excited.
Amazing. And Rob, in terms of something to like about your character, I think it's fair to say not a lot. But was there something you could find?
But he's entertaining, isn't he?
You need to connect to the character, right? It's like, how did you connect to this character?
I mean, it's always fun to play a character where, you know, there's such a kind of stringent value system which every single other character in the world of Odyssey kind of subscribes to.
No, I have to say, I thought he did really well. Because I felt like this felt like an antagonist, but also not just an idiot. I felt he like had some plan, and he strategically tried to sneak his way onto the throne. I felt like, character-wise, those two, Telemachus and whatever his name was, I felt those were good. Those were my favorite parts of the movie from the start to the end, because they felt like the closest, they felt like the most immersive, and I didn't feel like just... This just felt so disappointing throughout the whole thing, and his crew felt like... Actually, his crew was okay, but it felt like his crew was not listening to him, which it's not like a feeling, that's straight up what they said.
And this guy's sort of tenuous. It's like, I don't get it. Like, we're like, what are you
Empathy?
What are you all doing? And it's like, and everyone's like, you know, all these struggles with their identities and who am I, blah, blah. And Nintendo's like, I don't need an identity. I just have desire, and that's it. And it's kind of, there's always a fun in playing someone who has very shallow characteristics, because you can move a lot quicker. Like you have no past, and you don't really have future as such. Like
Did you develop any sort of like sympathy for him as you played the character, like as you got further into the film?
I mean, there's a lot of ways. I mean, I was kind of joking about it with you earlier, but it's like you inevitably, the more I'm playing the scenes, you're thinking like, Ithaca is falling apart, and Odysseus is dead, like 100%. Like it's like, and also they are following Zeus's law, like really, like they're all doing what they're supposed to be doing, and also you never say leave. Like, and also, I think I'm a pretty good option for Penelope too. I'm like legitimately saying, like, I want to help out. I have a calling. I have a calling.
I have to say, this is probably the most interesting interview that I've seen so far. I've seen like 2 or 3, and every time they talked about the story, and I was like, pain. kinda. But it feels nice. I mean, I feel like what he says I see in the movie. Like, I felt like the acting there was probably the best. Actually, I'm not an expert on the acting part, but I felt like those were the immersive parts and the ones where I felt like into it. But I can't say it otherwise than immersed. Like, I felt like really there was like two sides. They were clear. The dialogue felt also better there. Maybe because it was closer to the original than Odysseus becoming like miserable, which was not what I was expecting of the great hero. So maybe because they were more how the original was, like, at least not the exact dialogue, of course, but like the two sides and the ideas of the characters didn't change too much. I felt like those parts were more immersive, and I felt like those. Like, I genuinely did not like this character, so I feel like he played it well. That's all I can say. Like, I feel like this guy was really a dick who just wanted to have everything, but also knew exactly what he is doing. But he also did not have any balls to really fight for it, because the moment Odysseus showed up and was killing them, he did not fight him. He was too afraid. And the fact that he did not even try to win the challenge because he knew he's not capable of it just shows that he just tried to weasel his way through. Like, I feel like a lot of things there just... I felt that. It was not just something they said, I really felt that. While on most parts that Odysseus was included, I felt like he says things, and they say things about him, but I don't see them. I do not see the person they're talking about until, like, the end, when he was, you know, disguising himself as this beggar and pretended and gave hints to the most important people of who he is. And that felt like actually something more the scheming strategist and the smart Odysseus would do. So until like the end of the movie, I felt like I didn't watch Odysseus. But for those two characters, Telemachus and I already forgot his name again. I just mentioned it. But for those two guys, I felt like yes, I see what you're trying to do, like what you're supposed to be. I see the desire, I see the struggle and stuff. So I like those parts. To finally say something positive about this movie.
To rule Ithaca, and you look at the other guys in the palace, and it's
do
not
worse.
You could do worse.
I have to say,
And I think you like me a little bit.
my new favorite thing is listening to you like talk about Antinous, because when you talk, I'm like, well, you do kind of make a good point, but no, I've seen him. I don't like him.
Penelope gets very mixed signals.
I don't know. I think by the end they're pretty clear.
By the end, but like it's been years. You're literally like
Zeus's
hiding,
law
you're
is
hiding behind the little barrier, being like, showing.
You spend one night at my loom and you see what you.
What are you looming over there?
Let me illuminate you.
You're taking ages. If Tom said I'm looming, I can't show you what it is for 3 years. Eventually, I'm going to be like, I have to see it. There's no more of this. No matter who's doing the looming.
When you come in and you're like, that's it?
3 years for that?
This is not a complicated design.
It's already gone off the rails. No, it's fine, it's fine.
Simon. It's terrible.
It's fine. I would actually like to talk about a scene none of you are in, if that's okay.
Great.
I have to go into spoilers what happens. Do you remember the first time you saw that? Chris has kind of delved into horror bits before, but this is kind of like a real horror scene. It's like,
Amazing.
do you think he should make a horror film? Like, what would that look like to you?
Yeah, that'd be
Make
amazing.
every-
Honestly, make a horror movie. Make a horror movie that's not based on anything, and I think that's gonna turn out really well. Because again, I think that the Scylla part, aside from her design or its design, it was really terrifying, and it really did jump scare me when one of those tentacle things had. I don't want to call it hats because I don't see a hat on that thing, but when those tentacle things, I like to compare them to elephant not tusks, trunks, because that's kind of how it looks for me. Like when that came through through the sail, and grabbed someone. That was terrifying. Like, that was a real jump scare, and that really scared me. So it didn't help with the special chairs that made you feel the impact and everything. Like, sound-wise and visually, like what happened there, especially with the feeling in the chair, was really, really scary. So make a horror movie. Make a horror movie that's not based on anything that already exists, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be really good.
Take the film. Chris should make a musical.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, but that scene in particular, I remember when I was watching it, I thought, oh, so Chris has finally broken the rule. This has to have been done with computers, because how on earth is that?
Sense.
So I'm just like, so in my head, I'm just like, oh, I can't wait to find out what's behind that. And then I asked him, and he said, nope, it's all practical. All practical, done on the day, and I won't give away how that happened because people...
Wait. That is all practical? Okay, then I'm actually impressed. This makes the scene so much better, because I assumed that was at least partly CGI. But if they did that all practical there, that's very impressive. Unnecessary, because I'm pretty sure if we would use some CGI there, which I don't know why that's a bad thing. Like, just because someone does some work on a PC does not make it bad, as long as it's properly done. But if that's really done practical, that's very, very impressive, and it makes the scene actually way better. But it also means that it could have been better if they just don't have this weird taboo on CGI, which is honestly weird. Especially in a movie that has so many things that are beyond human. Like gods, for example. So that's a bit awkward, but I accept that. I accept the dedication, and I respect that. So I'm now mainly interested in how they did the pig scene, but that is really fascinating. I guess that explains why she was forming them with her hands. I assume that was necessary for that, but that is very, very, oh god, that makes the scene actually really, really good. But then again, as I said, I've seen better animations online, so... And I'm pretty sure you don't have to dig really much to find better animations online that are also realistic looking. So I feel like you could have just done better by not putting this weird taboo on yourself. Especially because I know that the Skiller was done CGI. Like, it's the only thing that is CGI from what I've heard. So you did it anyway, so... Feels like a weird taboo to have. And especially the moment you break it, you don't even do that properly.
We should discover it for themselves. And it was just a combination of like ingenious filmmakers using practical effects with a brilliant actress giving an astonishing performance. I don't know, it's just, I'll never forget it. It's a highlight of the film for me by far.
Dom, you have some key scenes with John Bernthal in this film. You've worked with many times before. I was just wondering, what's the favourite day or moment you've ever had on set with John?
I think our first day on the Odyssey felt like a sort of legendary day for the two of us. You know, we had 2 days worth of work scheduled, and we got it all in one night, and it was an incredible...
If that was a scene that they did on the first day, doesn't mean they did the last scene on the first day. Because he just says the first day, and I'm wondering, like, but what scene is that? I know that you're not filming in order, so what was the first scene you did on the first day? Or what were the scenes you did on the first day? I'm really curious about that.
Incredibly emotional scene. It was a huge challenge, and I think we left the set feeling like we'd really accomplished something. And I think what Chris does so well...
I have to say, though, that was a really good
he
scene.
Definitely tests you early on, and if you're able to rise to the occasion, it gives you so much confidence for the rest of the movie, because you're like, it definitely can't get any tougher than that. It really does. But it filled me with confidence, and you know, I love John to death. I've known him for a really long time, but sharing the set with him as Spider-Man and the Punisher is so special, because we did each other's self-tapes 10 years ago. So there was so much fun that we had on that job.
Unfortunately, that is all the time I have.
Bless you, bless you.
Excuse me, thank you.
Redo that.
I realised I sneezed right into the microphone. Sorry about that. I thought it was on this side.
that's all the time I have, unfortunately. But thank you so much
That
for
was
talking to me.
okay.
This
That,
film,
I have to
like
admit,
I
it's
said,
kind of funny.
is amazing. And yeah, thank you again so
Thank
much.
you, Simon.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot.
Sorry we hijacked
No.
the interview.
No, I love it.
Nonsense.
No, it's absolutely fine.
What would he do if he came back here and find all these suitors in his house?
You're pining for a daddy you didn't even know, like some sniveling bastard.
Well, I just realized it was actually from IGN. I did not notice it. I was not looking at that. I was only looking at the title. So there was not much about this interview that I could, talk about. Because I feel like most of the things they said I kind of agree with. Granted, they really just talked about the things that I feel like were the strong parts of the movie. Like everything about Telemachus and the things that happened on Ithaca were like, for me, the interesting part. The one that I felt more immersed, that I felt like less bothered by it. Maybe because there was just nothing fantastical. There were no gods, no monsters that they could mess up. So it was really... maybe even not that good in its own. Maybe if you take those scenes for themselves, they're not as good anymore. But with the comparison, like every time they appeared, and they just felt so much better than like the weird things with Polyphemus, like shooting an arrow at him for no reason at the end, as if you were safe or anything. Like all those weird things that just took me out of it, that just made me like almost facepalm myself every time that happened. And there were a few moments, like when Skylla appeared, where I really had to take a deep breath because I was like, oh god. And I just didn't want to say it out loud in the movie. So, or in the cinema, it was hard. So, I think that's a good photo, a good picture to enter. And it kept taking me out of it. It was just so awkward. Like, why would the smart and cunning and scheming Odysseus, why would he just out of anger shoot an arrow at him? And I feel like they wanted to justify all that with just one sentence, and that is, what if I don't want to go home? Which is super awkward. It's so weird. And I realized there's one thing, and I want to end on this, that happened in the movie. Because on multiple parts, I think Circe was one of them, but also other people, they unmistakably told Odysseus, if you do this, your people, like your crew, will die. And then towards the end, I think right after his man killed one of the cows of Helios or of Apollon, I don't know which one is the actual original thing. He talks to Athena, which again is only in his mind apparently, or only appears to him, who knows. And she tells him also unmistakably that he was told throughout his journey what would happen and just didn't manage to prevent it, which is famously what happens when the gods give you an oracle. You can't stop it. By trying to do so, you make it happen. So, but it was very unmistakably, right? It was very clearly said, do A and B happens. And he just replies with, the gods do not speak in ways that humans can understand it. Or something like that. I don't know what he says on the original, but it's like the idea of it. I think that was for me the worst dialogue in the whole movie. Because that's simply not true. I don't know if he was in denial, if he was supposed to be unreasonable at that moment, but at every part of his journey, basically all the time, someone told him, and that clearly, without any doubt, there was no way for him to misunderstand it, because it was clear and direct. It was, do A and B will happen. And you cannot prevent that. You just have to accept it. And then he just says, well, you gods speak in ways that we don't understand, which is... If they would have given him some riddle, if they would have talked in like... in some mysterious, weird form, in some unnecessary, complicated, and riddling way, I would agree. But that's not what happened. They unmistakably said, do this, and this will happen. You cannot prevent it. You have to accept it. You should not try to go against it, because then everyone will die. And he just can't. Like, I can't. What is this writing? Was the no one reading the script and being like, wait, isn't that contradicting? Like, they do not do some weird roundabout way or riddle. They clearly tell him what to do and what he can't prevent. But why does he say that they don't? This was the worst thing for me. It was towards the end. It was, but can't even say it was towards the end, because I felt like after he got home, there was only like a third of the movie. Like, the actual journey was very short, I think. But it felt so weird. It was, for me, the part where I really just turned off my brain and was like, okay, guess I don't need to find any logic anymore. And it's sad, because even if you don't know the original one, that part just doesn't make sense. That part just felt out of it. That part just felt straight up dumb. And that's all I can say about it. Like, I feel like this part, that is one dialogue describes the movie very well. It's just unreasonable. It's just, you have this whole surrounding world, those side characters that all act normal, that all also act like they would, like they felt somewhat accurate for the most part. If you ignore stuff like Polyphemus, but like his crew felt reasonable. His crew felt, for the most part, like, you know, desperate soldiers. And you have all the people in Ithaca that felt, you know, very normal, that felt right, that didn't feel off. You have the other people that, you know, returned home, that either died, like Agamemnon, or like, well, I don't want to mention Agamemnon, like his small armor thing and stuff is just not good enough. But you know, like Menelaus, who has some actual advice, who behave like normal people. And then you have this weird, completely out of place version of Odysseus that feels like you just teleported the man from our modern time into this ancient world, and no one understands what he's thinking or saying, because from their perspective nothing makes sense. Just that even from our perspective as the people watching that, it doesn't make sense. So that's kind of how it feels, and I honestly don't understand how you can defend some of those things. Like, I've seen people trying to defend like stuff like Scylla and say like technically it's correct, but as I literally read here, which is, you know, Homer, Odyssey 1254 following, like, it's just a translation of the actual book from 800 before Christ, and it's described way different than it shows in the movie. The only thing that's the same is that the body is not shown properly, but they're mentioning feet tangling, 12 feet tangling. They say something about multiple rows of teeth. Why is that still open? Yeah. Like, they say something about multiple rows of teeth, which you clearly do not have here. They say so many things about this. Like, they say that this is a proper hat. They call this a hat. Where is it? Yeah, sunk waist deep in the cave's recesses. So this is implying that everything above the waist, which it also has a waist, which is also an important info, was visible. So I don't get that. Then It's even described as her head from that frightening hollow. Now this might just be a problem with the translation, but the fact that it says her head and she, like it's clearly a female thing. It's not a monster, it's a her. Indicates that it should be more feminine in some way. At least have like a feminine silhouette of a woman, maybe. Like the whole Black Death part, you can ignore. I mean, you could have made it black, at least. Also something that didn't do. And 6 long necks with a grizzly hat on each of them. I don't know if that's just their understanding of a grizzly hat, but this is not a hat. You can maybe argue that this is an eye, that this is like a nose hole, and then their teeth, but you can't even say this is technically correct, because if this is technically correct, then technically Odysseus could have been a woman, because women are also human. Like, even if you break it down to the bare minimum, they did not do what it says in Homer's epic. So I feel like at least don't defend stuff that is clearly just bad. And that's what makes me sad. That things are defended that are clearly just bad and wrong, just because technically they could be right, which they are just not. And I'm not even talking about the cast, because I'm not against the cast. I don't care if they cast this black woman to play Helena or Helen, because could have been. People like to forget that half the coast of the Mediterranean Sea are Africa. So, and there was, you know, exchange between Africa and Europe. So it's not like you can strictly say that it's impossible. It's actually very likely, because a lot of women from that time, they came from like Northern Africa. So it's not even unrealistic. And the fact is, we just don't know. So I don't feel like there's any offense in the cast and the choices they made. I do understand though that some people complain that there's like the same actors that are in every movie nowadays, because even I, who's not often watching movies, can tell that a lot of these actors appear in a lot of movies lately. So I understand if someone goes to the cinema like every other week or every month, that you have, you know, seen enough of some of those actors. I get that. I also hope that they give, you know, maybe more, not even younger, but less famous but promising actors that may be suitable for a role a chance. That would be nice, because Hollywood can't survive on like the same actors all the time, because those actors are also not getting younger and also not getting better, honestly. Some of them are just getting worse apparently for years, for what I've heard, but that's a different story. And I've also had people say that Skylla only looks bad in this still image, but when moving actually looks good. And that I can only say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because something should not look bad as a still image, and you should not try to hide that by moving fast. That's not how it works. People will see the still image and will judge the still image because they're judging a design and not a movement. And again, I think everything else in the scene was okay. It was terrifying how they got snatched off the boat. Like, it was actually so bad that I forgot to count how many people were snatched, because that just jump scared me half the time. Like, you could tell me that they actually snatched 7 people. I could not tell you. I could not confirm nor deny it, because I could not pay attention because it jump scared me. Still, the whole scene was fine. It's really just... First, it doesn't matter. True. It does not matter if it looks good when it's moving. It has to look good. Full stop. Or should. It was bad even moving. Yeah, like even when moving, I felt like when moving it looked bad in a different way. As I said earlier, when it moves, it looked like elephant trunks. Like, it looked like an elephant just grabbing something with its nose. That's how it looked for me. At least for the first one. I kind of ignored that because, you know, it was terrifying. That I'm not even saying the scene was bad. I'm just saying that this design is bad, or this idea of Scylla is just bad. It's uninspired. It's boring. It's ugly, honestly. Which, fair, monsters should not necessarily look nice, although a lot of monsters do that in Greek mythology. But it's just, this is not it. This is okay. Not my, like, again, I'm not a huge fan of the face. I'm more sad about how they completely changed Polyphemus' role and made it basically incapable of doing a normal conversation, which I think the only thing that was about Polyphemus that he was not the smartest, which I think the Cyclops in general were not, but otherwise they were completely normal. Like, they were able to talk. They were just, you can't even say cannibalistic because they're Cyclops. Eating humans is not like eating your same, like eating your waste. So, you know, it was just like that. And the whole explanation of do you talk to ants is like, well, that's stupid because you know ants are not capable of speech, but Polyphemus probably heard them. Sure, they were whispering for the most part, but you know what? Like, that's like the difference of, have you ever seen an ant talking? No. Have you ever seen a human talk? Well, probably. So unless those were the first humans to ever come to this island, he probably knew that they were capable to talk. So the whole argument of do you talk to ants does not make sense. Because you probably already met ants and they were not able to talk. And that's not what he probably experienced. So this whole argument is super stupid. And then the fact that they themselves said, oh, maybe we should have, you know, talked to him. It's just like, at that point it was just pure mockery. And that's just not okay. The whole movie isn't, it's a movie. It's not, I would still rate it like 5 out of 10. Because I think it looks amazing and the end is not bad. It has some good moments. It's an okay movie. It's just a really bad Odyssey. It's missing like everything that makes the Odyssey amazing. That made the Odyssey famous. That kept the Odyssey alive for 3,000 years. So, those are my final words. I'm gonna... Well, it's kind of late. I'm probably not gonna take a shower. I'm probably just gonna take a sponge and get the sweat off me. I'm sweating like crazy. It's so warm. It's still... It's like 10 and it's still super warm and I hate it. Ugh. But I'm out. Thanks for being here. It was lovely as always. It was the first time that I'm only live on YouTube, which is still a bit confusing for me. And I'm honestly not sure. I hope everything worked. I hope everything is fine and nothing broke halfway through. But if it did, then I'm gonna find out later. Or not at all, who knows. I'm gonna sign out. Thanks for being here, it was lovely as always. Not sure. I guess the next stream I'm gonna do is probably gonna be on Twitch. Probably on Saturday. And on YouTube. I'm not sure. I will try to stream next Tuesday. Because I would like to do the YouTube streams on Tuesday, but I'm not sure if I can do that. It kind of depends on how I manage. Otherwise, it's probably gonna be on Thursday or Friday. No idea what I'm gonna do. I have to figure that out myself. But I'm out. Thanks for being here. Lovely as always. Hope you have a wonderful day, night, whatever it's for you. And I hope I see you again next time. Stay healthy, hydrated, do all the things that I usually don't do, especially hydrate more than I do, sleep more than I do. Actually, I sleep a decent amount lately. But I'm out. Have a wonderful one. Bye bye. Bye bye.